my friends. Sorry about the delay. There's a wonderful gentleman behind me who decided to intimidate me into going faster, which I will not capitulate to his demands. In any event, it's been a while since I've spoken to you guys. I wasn't originally going to use YouTube Live, even though I have about 2,000 fans on here. Primarily because what I noticed is that it was also kind of zapped in terms of organic reach. And oh, I see one person just showed up. Anyways, so, and I was actually going to wait until the ban that was imposed by Facebook on my live videos was lifted, which is going to be lifted B'ezrat Hashem on April 27th. That ban was imposed because I posted something way back in June or July 2020 about the Ayatollah of Iran, and apparently that was something that was a problem for them. I don't really know how, and so yeah, I was banned. Or my ability to go live was disabled, and that was that. Anyway, guys, so I'm here talking to you on YouTube. So I wanted to speak to you guys about a topic that has, I guess, two components, but really it's one. You know, it's always one big picture, really. You guys probably see what's going on in America, which I'm here right now. B'ezrat Hashem, a week from Sunday, I will be returning to the land of Israel. Please God. But you guys see what's happening in America. You know, we just had this whole George Floyd trial, and we saw how that went down. And the issue wasn't even the verdict. The issue was, you know, as we understand it, that, you know, there were outside forces and politicians who were basically weighing in publicly on the trial, and actually what they hoped the result of or what the verdict would be. Some of them even were saying, you know, if the verdict doesn't go as we want it to go, and again, I'm not commenting on whether or not the verdict is right or wrong, I'm just saying, they were saying if the verdict doesn't come out the way we want it to, you know, there's going to be some hostilities. You know, Maxine Waters mentioned that people should get confrontational. I'm assuming she meant physically. I don't know. Maybe if they ask her again, she'll probably say, no, I just meant, like, you know, politically and whatever. She'll spin it, obviously. I think she has already, but we understood her to be saying basically, if we don't get what we want, we're gonna kick your asses, right? And of course, Biden weighed in and stuff like that. So we understand now, people who have their heads on straight, that basically this whole process sets a precedent for how other similar cases are going to go, similar but cases that are not, so to speak, as straightforward. Let's just say, I'm saying straightforward in a very loose, it wasn't such a straightforward case, but let's just say if you assume that this case is more straightforward than other cases, we're setting a precedent where, in similar situations, where politicians and other outside people can come and say, you know, this better go the way that we want it to, otherwise we're gonna raise hell. And my friends, you know, that's when we understand that a country doesn't have really, you know, if it even had any justice system to begin with, at this point there is no. Not only is there no justice system, there's no rule of law, and there's no, you know, the 7 Noah High laws call for just courts, or just a court system, and not only that, with that comes an enforcement, a system of enforcement, right? So in this case, you're talking about the police, right? So if we're saying that the police cannot, you know, do their job, or if we're saying in this case, it's not that they can't even do their job, if they're saying that we want to defund the police, just get like rid of the police, or, you know, really weaken the police, let's put it that way. You know, if you have 100 cops somewhere, you're now going to have 20 or 30, right, in a particular place. I'm just using a ratio. we're saying that, then we understand, the people who have their heads on straight understand that society is basically on the way or on the verge of collapsing. And my friends, how do we know that? We know that because right after this verdict, we had a situation where a black girl, and it's interesting, I don't want to get into, like conspiracy theories, but I find it interesting that this happened, I think it was like the day of or the day after this, George Floyd verdict. A black girl goes to stab she's not like a small girl, she's a 16-year-old, but like very tall and very, I would use the word heavyset, not to fat shame anybody, just to give you a description. A sizable girl, let's put it that way, 16 years old, is about to stab another African-American girl, right? Like on the body cam footage, you could see she literally moved her arm back to make a motion as if she's about to stab this girl, and in the process, in the middle of this whole thing, a cop is there, and he answered originally the call for there was a disturbance, and he saw what's going on, and he has a nanosecond to respond, and he shoots the girl dead, the girl that the would-be stabber dead, and he saves the life of the girl who was about to be stabbed. We understand that. People with their heads on straight understand that, right? So now, my friends, you go on Twitter, as like I did, unfortunately, stupidly, and you go and you read some of the responses to this, some of the comments. Oh, why couldn't he use a taser? Why did he have to use a gun? Why this? Why that? Couldn't he just de-escalate the situation without shooting the girl? And I'm thinking to myself, like, it's almost as if these people don't really understand. I mean, I'm not a cop, but I can only imagine, you're in a situation like that, your adrenaline is through the roof. Not only that, they don't really understand that a cop, like any cop or any person who's or even field, which is essentially what this is, similar, has about a nanosecond to react, to respond, to think and react. He has like 1 nanosecond to process what's going on in front of him, and then another nanosecond, or maybe half a nanosecond, to physically do something. In this particular case, grab a gun and stop the person from killing another person. And my friends, in case you're wondering what does the Torah have to say about any of this, there's no argument. There's a very, it's a pretty straightforward thing. If somebody sees somebody trying to kill somebody else, you kill that person. You kill the assailant. It's quite straightforward. There's no machloket, as we say. It's logical, basic. There's not much discussion. I mean, there is discussion in the Talmud today. In this particular situation, it's pretty straightforward, right? But my friends, as we understand, America is not exactly going according to any biblical principles, much less Torah principles, or at least not anymore. All right, we see that. And so, my friends, we see that when you talk to these people and you hear their responses and their reactions, you begin to understand what is happening in this country. I would say in the Western world, but primarily in this country. You begin to understand that no matter what logical argument you bring, and no matter what explanation you give, people are just, entrenched and engrossed and entranced in their prism that they see, how they see the world, and how they see things, and how they experience things. And there's no amount of logical arguments you can make to them, or explanations, or body cam footages, or evidence, or anything else. Like, they even write. Some of these people even write, I don't want to see the footage. It doesn't matter to me. Or like, even with the George Floyd thing, there was this whole thing, there's this whole process and story, and as we say, Megillah, that led up to that photo that we saw with the cop with his knee on it. This whole thing, and you can just, go back and forth and see and talk, and they just don't care, right? Some people, half the people, more than half, just don't care. They don't care about your arguments, your explanations, your logic. your reason. They just don't care. And my friends, you know, if you read some of the deeper sources, the Zohar, other sources that talk about this, it talks about that when the Sitra Achra has gripped people, individuals, or collectives, the side of impurity blocks people from being able to see the emes, from being able to see the truth. Right? It blocks people. You're just, no matter what, you know, somebody's coming to you and showing you literally logic and common sense, and it's almost as if people they know, you know, like in the back of their minds, they know that what you're saying is common sense and true, but they have a certain ideology that they've been taught, and what you're saying flies in the face of their ideology. So if it flies in the face of their ideology, and their ideology is so ingrained in them, you know, their ideology, their truth, as they call it, their truth, right? So what you're saying might be objectively true, ostensibly true, absolutely true, but it flies in the face of what they believe to be true. So therefore it's nonsense, and therefore they have to come up with mental acrobatics, or either they come up with mental acrobatics, or they just, you know, throw crap in your face and just, you know, use ad hominem attacks to respond to you. And my friends, that is actually the Sitra Achra. That is what the Sitra Achra is. America is gripped by the Sitra Achra. So now, my friends, I have people that I'm close with, friends and family, who are, you know, whatever. They live in America. They love America. You know, they say the America that they knew and loved is gone. It's disappearing. They also love Israel, and they've got it into their heads for some reason that actually I know the reason. You know, because they're comfortable Jews in America, and because we have all these lobbying groups and we have all these, you know, political relationships, they've got it into their heads that Israel and America are a tandem skydiving team. By tandem, I mean America is the actual skydiver, and Israel is the other guy who's attached to the guy who's actually skydiving. Like, who's actually controlling the parachute, right? So the guy who's attached cannot do anything independently of the guy who's actually controlling the parachute, right? So that would be Israel, the guy who's attached. So they got it into their heads that we are attached at the hip, and they got it also into their heads that, you know, basically Israel is the Robin, to quote my friend Yehuda Cohen, that Israel is the Robin to America's Batman. My friends, I'm here to tell you, and I'm only saying this because of history, at the very least since 1967, maybe even further than that, Israel is not the Robin to America's Batman. Israel is not a tandem skydiver with America. If anything, it's its own. And that's really it, my friends. You have to understand, and I'm saying this why? Because I have friends that say, you know, if America collapses, the civilization that is called America collapses, then Israel is not far behind. My friends, I hate to tell you, I beg to differ. And I beg to differ, as many rabbis beg to differ, as many people who understand Torah beg to differ, and understand the trajectory of history and the development of history, and in particular of Jewish history and the land of Israel. They understand that Israel is here, is not meant to go away ever again. You know, we have been revived after 2,000 years. We've come back to our land. We are not going to be removed from our land. We're going to have a lot of problems, a lot of troubles. We had wars, we're going to have more, probably, or conflicts, or what have you, whether they're external, internal. We have our issues, but we are not meant to disappear. The land of Israel is not meant to disappear. You know, I had friends telling me, well, Israel also has leftists, you know. It also has this whole issue. And my friends, I'm here to tell you, the majority of Israelis are right-wing people, or what would you call normal. The majority of Israel is fairly normal. 80% of the country, you know, now you even see this whole thing of like they're trying to form a coalition. And not that I'm, you know, necessarily a fan of Bibi, but even Bibi's coming out and saying, listen, to Bennett, right? Whether or not you agree with what Bennett's trying to do, or different horse trading that's going on, but his general point is: listen, the majority of Israelis are right wing. The right wing side won the election as a collective. The only thing is, like, some of the right wing parties don't want to join Bibi. That's a different story. But in general, the right wing side of the country, which is, I would say, 75 or 80%, won the election, and therefore we have to have, by any means necessary, a right wing government. That's what Bibi's saying. But he has a point, meaning we cannot go against the will of the general population. Not to say that we have to elect Bibi, we must, but we do absolutely have to have a right-wing government, because the majority of Israel is right-wing, 75%. Unlike in America, where it teeters back and forth, 50-50, 55-45 here, 55-45 there. Whichever candidate, manages to convince people to vote for him. And in the previous election, I'm not going to get started on that, but the Kitzur, it's about 50-50 every year, right? But Israelis, listen, these people live in existential threat, and I would say more than half of the Jews in Israel hail from Sephardic, hail from Arab countries. Their families come from Arab countries. They're not going to give the country away to our enemies, whether it be an Arab or a leftist or whoever, or a European. They're just not going to do this, my friends. It's not going to happen. So for the people who are saying, well, if America succumbs to leftism and wokeism and all this stuff, Israel is not even close. We have them, unfortunately. We have these kind of people, but they reside primarily, not only, but primarily in maybe like two geographical quadrants of Israeli society. You're talking about Tel Aviv, and you're talking about like Haifa, maybe. That's basically it, my friends. That's essentially it. Maybe some parts of the north. The majority of Israelis, guys, are normal people who have their heads screwed on straight. It may not seem that way when you go there, even with the right-wing people, but in general, these are what they what leftists like to call normals. Okay, these are people, family-oriented people. These are people who love the family, the nuclear family, tradition, normalcy. Like no crime, no terror, normalcy. God, family, Torah. Even the people who are not religious, as they say, or they're religious in their heart, they are what's called Masorti, traditional. Sephardim, Moroccan, Iraqi, Tunisian, Libyan, those Jews from those places. At the end of the day, if you have a Sefer Torah, they're going to run to the Sefer Torah, or to shul every once in a while. It's very important to them. These people are not eating chametz on Pesach. They're not the most religious, but they're not eating chametz on Pesach. They're not eating on Yom Kippur. Don't get it twisted, my friends. This is the majority of Israel, these kind of people. And they will not be letting the elite lefty media types, or intelligentsia, or self-proclaimed intelligentsia types, and on top of that, Arabs, to take over the country. It's just not going to happen if these people have anything to say about it. If Sephardim, Mizrahim have anything to say about it. I'm telling you, my friends, it's not in the purview, okay? Unlike in America, where you just have like this whole cholent of people, and at this point it's just about ideology. It's not, there's no values and these kind of things. But listen, at the end of the day, guys, it's a cholent. It's a spiritual cholent, or cultural cholent, and it's spiritually wayward. My friends, not to say that the Jewish people aren't spiritually lost as well. We are, in many ways. But at the end of the day, you walk around regular towns in Israel, whether it's, I don't know, Rishon LeZion, Kfar Saba, Afula, Migdal HaEmek, go north, go south, go east, go west, you will find people who are in some way attached to tradition and attached to the idea of a normal family and normalcy and you know, prosperity and safety. They're not attached to nonsensical woke ideologies, at least not as much. It's just really not that much, not a thing like it is in America for you know, for many reasons, my friends. So I'm here to tell you that despite everything I just described to you guys, with all the stuff that's going on here in the States, basically with, you know, one of the main Noahide laws, which is a justice system, which is basically being eroded deliberately by these woke psychos, I'm here to tell you guys that if one of the scenarios, which is, it's actually not even guaranteed, it doesn't have to happen, but if it does happen, that one of the scenarios is where, you know, America will slowly decline, as unfortunately all empires do, you need to understand that Edom, when Edom goes down, when Esav goes down, Yaakov goes up. It's only a sign that Israel is ascending and rising. That's all it is, my friends. That's really all it is. And again, if you're saying, "Oh, Israel has this," no, we don't have the same problems as America. We really don't. We're not even close. At least in that respect. Okay. And if you're saying, "Well, Israel can't fend for itself," well, watch us. You know, as we say, watch me. We have, we are, and we will. Whether it's 1967, 1973, and my friends, I'll be the first to tell you, honestly, we're not alone. We have Hashem with us. We can see that throughout the trajectory of the history of the state of Israel. We see that at some point Hashem was just like, you know what, the Geula must start, and the Geula process began when we started coming back to Israel in the late 1800s. That was already kind of like the little sparks of the Geula, the redemption. And we saw that when we took back Jerusalem in 1967, you know, many people understood that a portal had opened up and that the Jewish people were back, not only in their land but in their city, and it was only just a matter of time before, you know, Hashem comes back to his makom, to his place, to the Shekhinah, or a matter of time before the Shekhinah comes back to its rightful place. Not only that, we see, my friends, more and more Jews are making Aliyah. I think at some point we're going to have more Jews in Israel very, very soon than we have in, not just in America. We have now more Jews in Israel than we have in America, that's for sure. We're going to have more Jews in Israel than we have in the entire diaspora, in the rest of the world. And I think it was Rambam who said, once that happens, the Mashiach is basically imminent. When we say imminent, we're talking about, like, I don't know, days or months. We're not talking about even years or even decades, my friends. So this is what you need to understand. I mean, you could say, well, Tzvi, I disagree, this and that. Listen, I mean, how else would you like it to go? Like, I say like this. Let's say you're right. Okay, then what? What? America goes down, right? The Titanic goes down, and with it go down all these other boats, including Israel, right? Okay, so the world burns. Then what? That's, you know, that's the way the story ends in your eyes? That's the way the story goes, or what? And then, you know, some people are saying, well, okay, so I said to some of my friends and family, I'm like, okay, so if you don't want it to go down, okay, so go get a gun license, grab a gun, and, you know, do what you gotta do. Defend yourself. And they're saying, well, even if I defend myself, they're gonna, you know, against an assailant, they're gonna prosecute me for, I don't know, killing somebody, and I don't even have my rights anymore. My friends, okay, so again, back to the circular argument. If you're saying it's collapsing and you don't want to fight, or if you want to fight, or if you're saying you're gonna fight, but then you're saying if you do fight, you're gonna be sent to prison, so then there's no point in fighting. So then you're saying it's gonna collapse. So then what? Then what? The whole world, the world's on fire. What, ma? Like, we're done? We're dead? You know? Unless there's another alternative. Unless there's another chapter that's supposed to be written something that's different from what happened, Chas v'shalom, in World War II, or what happened to Jews in the Soviet Union, or what happened even in the thousands of years or hundreds of years before the 20th century, with all these pogroms and inquisitions and other empires that collapsed, where other people sat in those empires and said, oh, if this collapses, the world's dead. My friends, don't you think that there were people sitting around before America ascended to what it is today? Don't you think there were people sitting around like the British Empire saying, oh, jail chop, if this collapses, I don't know what will be with the world? Or France, who had like naval superiority. Oh, if we collapse, the world is going to go to melt. Like, people sitting in every empire on this planet throughout history saying the same thing that my friends and family say. If this empire, this Fakakta empire that we're sitting in today collapses, the world is screwed. Did the world get screwed? Not really. It may have gotten rearranged. It may have been like, new nation states created, new economic systems, new whatever, new institutions, new ideas, new revelations, whatever. They happened. And by the way, now we have a new one. We're about to have a change in the monetary system. That's a whole different conversation, my friends. I'll make another video. But the point is, in every single generation, every so 100 years, hundreds of years, there's somebody sitting somewhere in some Fakakta empire that is screaming, woe is me, and if our empire collapses, everything else is going down with it. And then that empire collapses. My friends, it's called cycles and revolutions. That empire collapses and something new is built. My friends, I'm telling you, and you can say, well, there was never an empire like America. America is, okay, go back to Rome. And Rome was saying that the same thing, people in Rome. There was never an empire like Rome. We built this, we went here, we went to Gaul, we went to this. Nobody can defeat us militarily. There was never a thing like Rome. And my friends, how did Rome collapse? By the way, sexual impropriety. Go on Instagram. Go on television. Go on the internet. What is 70% of the stuff that you can see on the internet today? I'm not going to say the word. Starts with a P. Okay? How do empires collapse? Or how did the Roman Empire collapse? When people forgot about Hashem and they forgot about what's called modesty. They don't have modesty. We don't have shame. And when you forget about these things, and then you devolve into not having modesty and shame about other things, and you devolve into what we have today, my friends, which is the demise of a moral system. That's why the arguments that you make, again, back to the original story of these whole, what's her name, Ma'Khia Bryant, the girl who was stabbing the other girl, you come to somebody with a moral, logical argument of morality. This girl was about to get stabbed. You know what some of the arguments that people make in response? Well, in this community, there's constantly girls fighting in school. They are constantly, it's been like that for years. There were black and Hispanic girls and go to any school, high school, and they're fighting and they're tearing their hair out and this and that. But you never see cops coming and shooting one of them. My friends, first of all, just logically, it's the difference between fighting and punching and then like, a girl trying to stab a girl in the chest. That's one part of it. The other part is like, these people, my friends, when you have a deterioration of morality in society and a lack of understanding of that, you start to normalize this behavior. These people are normalizing and saying it's okay, just let the fight. They literally say it's our culture, it's none of your business, let us fight amongst ourselves. If you come to African Americans, for example, and say, well, you guys are killing each other. You guys are upset the cops are killing you, but you guys are killing each other. You know what they say? None of your business. It's none of your business. Step off. My friends, if you want others to respect you, you have to respect them. If you want others to stop killing you, or rather devaluing your life, you have to value your own life, or value the lives of other people in your community, in your group, let's say. But no, and this is all because of a moral deterioration, my friends, and that's why, and this is how empires collapse. And I'm telling you guys, there were empires before where people sat around, Jews also, by the way, who sat around and said, oh, and this is before Israel was even existing, my friends. So I don't even know where these people were planning on going. You know, a Jew sitting around in Russia, in the Russian Empire, saying, if Russia collapses, I don't know where we're going to go. We've been in Spain, we've been in France, we got kicked out of there. We've been here. And finally, the most recent, empire that the Jews were in, before we got to Israel, physically, 1800s, we're in Russia. And we're sitting there and crying, oh, what's going to be if Russia collapses, or if Poland collapses, if Lithuania, whatever, this Arba Artsot, 4 nations. What's going to be, my friends, what's going to be now is that we have the land of Israel, and we're not going to be kicked out, and there are more voices are going to return, and Israel is rising despite all the issues, despite Israel's ascending. And I'm going to end with you guys on a phrase from Rav Kook. I'm sure you guys know who he is. I quote him often. He said, our foibles and our troubles, I'm just paraphrasing, our foibles and our troubles are very great, and therefore conversely our revelations, our redemptions, and our consolations are even greater, my friends. This is basically how it works. Or as Rabbi Nachman said, if you can break, you can certainly fix. And a tiny bit of light, as the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, can dispel a lot of darkness. And Israel is that tiny bit of light, my friends. It's a small country, but it's a tiny bit of light. And I'm telling you guys, watch what happens. We are going to ascend and elevate. And we are going to lead the world, at the very least spiritually, into a new era. B'ezrat Hashem. Alright guys, I'll talk to you. Catch you on the flip side, and I don't know how to turn this off. How do we do that? We don't know. How does this happen? I think we're done. Oh, there we go. The X on the top. There we go.